this I have what I'm gonna refer to as a series of questions about Silent Hill.
Honey, sometimes when you go to sleep, you go on a little walk. And sometimes you talk about a place.
I don't remember.
That's why we're gonna go there. So you can remember.
Because I watched Silent Hill, and beyond the fact that okay, how do I want to do this? I have questions about the game because I've never played a Silent Hill game, and I'd like to ask questions about the game based upon about what I gleaned from this movie, and I want to know if the gameplay is like this. So, is the Silent Hill gameplay you walk around a lot of empty spaces with a flashlight, and occasionally scary shit jumps out at you?
Essentially, yes.
Because that's the
As
vibe.
bare bones, it's very much, yeah.
Because
A
that's
lot of more being afraid that something's going to happen, and then
okay.
something doesn't happen, and then you get comfortable being like it's just trying to scare me, and then when you don't think anything's going to happen,
Because
that's when
that's
something happens, and then
the
you're like, oh God.
because that's the vibe the
They're
movie
my
gave
favorite
me.
games. Yeah, the movie is pretty accurate to the game.
Because like
There's
as a
some
movie,
things they changed.
up until the last 15, 20 minutes, I was bored shitless. And it was just a lot of people walking around. And it was just a lot of people walking around empty rooms, shining flashlights, and occasionally a pyramid head guy jumps out. And I'm like, this is not really doing anything for me. And then
Yeah,
and then they did the big. Okay, so unfortunately, Jordan, in order to explain why this movie's so fucking weird, I need to give away the end of this movie. And I'm really
That's
curious.
okay.
Before I
I
do that,
probably would never have watched it, so that's fine.
before I do that, I need to ask how close is so the plot of this movie is close to the plot of the games?
um, I wouldn't go. I mean, pretty much they changed like the character is a girl in the movie
Who do
in
you
the
play
game.
as? It's a guy.
In the game you would be playing as Sean Bean, and they would be reversed. Except the
Oh.
girl Rose would be like Sean Bean. Well, Harry is Sean Bean's character, and Harry is the guy you play as in the first game.
Okay. Okay.
But Rose is a made up character. Harry's wife is dead in the game,
Okay.
and um, he picked up the same idea where Alessa is not their kid. They found her on the side of the road, and then they raised her, and then she starts in the movie having nightmares about Silent Hill, which I'm sorry, but that girl, her acting is just.
Okay. So
It's.
okay.
I know she's a kid, but I've
I
seen good kid actors, and this kid is not.
so you know how we referenced the phone test? I looked down and then they were talking about how this town was abandoned and there was this mine explosion, and then I looked up and there was a church cult and there was people in this town, and I have no idea when that happened. I was just like, when did that happen? And so okay.
Um, there's a cult in the game, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Are they the
but
like so is it like the random monsters that show up in that movie? Are they what you're killing in the game?
yes, they would be what you're killing. So in the game, I mean, the first game doesn't have like the thing that is tied up and shoots acid out of its chest. That's not in the first game. That's in the second game.
Okay.
They took a lot of like the second game is widely regarded to be the most popular. That's why they remade the second one instead of the first. So this movie kind of took the story from the first one, but took monsters from the second
What's
one.
the
It's all the
deal with Pyramid Head? The movie does not explain what the deal. He just
Pyramid Head is one of the biggest gripes that the fans have with it because he shouldn't be in the movie because he has nothing to do with Harry. He has to do with the second game's main protagonist.
interesting.
Pyramid Head is part of the cult. He was a symbol in the cult or a person in the cult that would execute people and stuff. He's the executioner. And Harry shouldn't. I mean, he exists in the second game because I don't want to ruin the second game story, but basically James he's horrendously guilty and he feels like he needs to be punished. So because he feels like he needs to be punished, he created Pyramid Head is the executioner from the cult. So I guess it was suiting in his mind. So it's
Okay.
trying to torture him, and that's why it shouldn't be in the first. But they put it in the first because it's spooky and it's scary. And I guess they decided to show off his butt too because he's clothed in the game.
Okay.
But in the movie, they're showing he's got a fine booty.
You got a fine booty. So okay. So I need to explain to Jordan how the rough plot of this thing. So there's a little girl and her mom, and the little girl is having nightmares. So she takes the kid, and they go to Silent Hill, which is an abandoned mining town where everyone died, but somehow they're still all there. And they go into this fog place, and then the little girl disappears, and then there's a bunch of spooky shit, and then at the end it turns out that the daughter is actually a girl from the town who was born out of wedlock and was assaulted by a janitor in a bathroom, and as a result the evil leader of the cult wants to burn her. And so she does burn her, but it goes wrong. Burning her causes the mind to explode, so she gets disfigured, and then she gets possessed by a demon who like takes over the town, and the daughter is actually the good version. I was unclear as to if she's the good side of the girl or if she's the baby of the girl who was pregnant from her assailant. I wasn't sure. That was unclear to me. And it turns out
Sounds convoluted.
It turns out that the evil cult is dead. Has actually been dead the whole time.
Yeah, now that you're explaining it, it's very different from the game. A lot of stuff that's just added to the movie.
Because like, so are
characters. There's still the female cop Sybil. There's still Lisa the nurse. Actually, I don't think there's a Lisa in the movie. No, there's a nurse in the movie.
The scene where they execute the cop girl, that scene's upsetting.
That was a rough scene to watch.
Rough.
Yeah,
like, whoa.
Very good skin melting special effects.
Oh my god! In fact, her face is in the fire. The ending of that movie, where okay, I have to continue explaining the ending of this movie. So then it turns out that there's an evil demon who's living on the outside of the town who can't get into the town, and she needs to get into the town because she's the one who's keeping the villagers alive, and they're also ghosts. So they're not also ghosts in the game?
There's not, like, the cult isn't in the game. It exists in the game, but there's no ghost of the cult in the game.
So Alyssa wasn't like their victim or whatever, and like she's not haunting the town creating monsters?
No, she wasn't assaulted in the game. There's no janitor in the game. The janitor is a character that created specifically for the movie. In the game, Alyssa is like, I forget. No,
I'm trying to dance around the thing that the janitor does, but okay, because we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Let me try.
Ali says, "Why is Pyramid Head there?" That's my question.
Oh, I already answered that. He shouldn't be.
He shouldn't be.
Because he's recognizable, and they wanted to pull people in.
Yeah, they wanted
merchandising.
They wanted to put him in the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he looks cool as hell.
So Alyssa,
those little baby things that grab onto her, though, those are in the game.
So is the whole bit like evil, dark Alyssa, as they refer to her in the Wikipedia articles? I had to read the Wikipedia article in order to understand what I just watched. Is she's a character in the game?
Yes, I believe so. Because the girl that they find on the side of the road is, I'm pretty sure in the game, she is like the good part of Alyssa.
Just like in the movie.
I mean, they didn't really explain it a lot in the first game because they didn't expect to wind up having movies and stuff.
Fair.
So a lot of it's hard for me to remember what was actually in the first game and what kind of they tried to retroactively add later on. Because they also made a prequel too, but the prequel was made by a different developing studio in the West. Only Silent Hill 1 through 4 was made by the same team, and then every other Silent Hill game since then.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
Ali says, one of the rare instances Sean Bean isn't the one who dies.
That is true. He does not die.
As long as you don't watch the sequel.
Okay.
You also shouldn't, because the sequel is not.
It's not good. So the Rose, the mom, she, and I kind of missed this part too, somehow runs into the demon, who it turns out, you get the whole backstory. She's Alyssa. She got like split into two people, and now there's an evil version of her, and she wants to get into the church to cause the apocalypse, which is basically she like the woman goes in and reveals that all of the village people have been dead the whole time, and that they actually did die in that fire explosion, and it was all the head of the cult's fault, and it's all her fault. And the head of the cult person, who is presently trying to burn a child alive at the stake, stabs her in the chest, and the evil demon chick pops out of her chest in blood and is like attached to a bed and uses a bunch of barbed wire and tears apart the cult in one of the most graphically violent scenes I've ever seen in my life. She at one point sticks barbed wire up the middle of her.
I don't know if we can talk about that on
and
YouTube.
Then like rips her apart. Yeah.
But not before the barbed wire comes out of her mouth.
And then she proceeds to slaughter every single person in that cult. But it's weird because
like one guy that she just wraps up in barbed wire and then just like mists him. It's wild.
It's gnarly. And that's where I was like, I was so bored, and then she started to brutally kill these cultists, and I was like, you know what? This is actually kind of entertaining now. But like
they're all terrible people, so it is satisfying.
Yeah. Well, okay, so like, it's framed as though like it's her closing up shop, basically. Like she's the one who created this, and it's her putting away all the toys so she can finally leave. Like it's like her ending this, basically her ending the world because she created the world. Is that what it's like in the game? Like, does she show up at the end and kill all these people?
No, the people aren't in the game. In the game, you're Harry and you're trying to find your daughter, and then I think like Alessa, the bad Alessa, is trying to keep the good part of Alessa there because she's trying to like become whole again or something. The game also has like a bunch of different endings.
So
there's some endings where you get Alessa in the game is called Cheryl because he changed her name, but her name when she was in Silent Hill was Alessa. But there's an ending where like you get Alessa back and it's all good and you leave town with her. There's an ending where the car accident in the beginning that killed Harry, and he's been dead the whole time, and this is just him stuck in hell.
Oh, so
Allie says Dark Alessa in the movie is based off the boss fight Memory of Alessa in the third game. FYI.
Oh.
I knew she'd come in clutch because she's got a Silent Hill tattoo.
Oh. Okay, because that was my big thing, especially when I got to the last third of this, where I'm like, okay, most of it, okay, I get it. This is very clearly slow-paced game where you're exploring. It was giving me very Resident in terms of like,
the
game was like Resident Evil vibes.
Very atmospheric, not so much less like Resident Evil is even more action-oriented. Silent Hill is very slow burn, like a heavy industrial soundtrack that's constantly putting you on unease and making you uncomfortable.
And that's what the movie definitely gave me that vibe.
It's like a suffocating atmosphere.
Atmospheric.
And then she
it definitely sounds more atmospheric.
Akira Yamaoka makes the soundtracks, and they're some of the soundscapes that he can make are like genuinely. I don't want to listen to them outside of the game. I don't even want to listen in the game because they just make me uncomfortable.
And then
unsettling.
I'm getting what the gameplay of this probably is, and then like I say, she popped up out of the ground in that bed and tore apart those cultists, and I was like, so is this the final boss of this game? Just this mess of her tearing people apart? Like, what is this game? Like, who's the final boss? Is the final boss you fight the cultist lady?
It's Harry shooting. I think the dark part of Alessa. Forget.
So she is the bad guy.
A decade since I played the first.
So she's the bad guy in the game.
In the game, yeah.
Because in the movie, she's not the bad guy.
She's part of the bad guy. In the movie, she's like split into these. Because the one that Rose finds in the hospital bed that she like pulls into her, that's the bad part of Alessa.
Okay.
But the one that she takes to town, the one that she raised, that's the good part of Alessa.
That's the good part. So, because if I were to base my like assumptions of the game based on the movie, I would have assumed that the evil cult lady was the main bad guy and Alessa was a good guy, because that's how the movie kind of presents itself. Like, misunderstood.
It is. The cultists pretty much created the bad part of Alessa. They basically, they tortured her.
So is her backstory similar in the game?
Mm,
Minus the
it's
child
not.
raping.
It's not. It's no. It's not as fleshed out in the game. A lot of the
Interesting.
fleshing out of her story is from the movie. I'm sure
Interesting.
there's like back. I only played the games. I haven't read any like
Because I'm like, man,
supplemental material.
who? Why child rape? Like why? Like her being born out of wedlock and the town hating her was already enough. It
I
just
don't
feels
know.
like an unnecessary addition to an already tragic
Yeah,
backstory.
yeah.
Pretty fucked
That
up.
was a movie. That was a movie edition.
Yeah, I don't get that. I otherwise, like I say, I was pretty bored the whole time. It's just not my kind of thing. I'm
Yeah,
not.
I get that.
Um,
I liked it because it was. I didn't like it that much when it first came out because I remember like they didn't need to change so much. But
yeah, fair
um,
enough. I look if it's this is what I saw. Um, I in another video someone said this and I totally agree. Where they say if you're gonna when you're doing an adaptation, you need to be as interesting as the original or more interesting.
yeah,
And I'm like that I agree with. This does not. I've never had an interest in playing these games, and this doesn't make me want to play them.
no, it's a certain kind of game for a certain kind of
Yeah.
person where you want to play through the same game a few different times to get different endings, and it's very ambiguous in the games. It does not explain things as much as the movie, and it leaves a lot up to you to decide or to figure out. There's a lot of back and
Oh
forth
yeah. So
between
it's
fans trying to believe what's canon and what's not.
translating that to movie. That I will say, on the scale of one to
Yeah.
Uwe Boll, it was not Uwe Boll. Like it definitely felt like
No,
this is a movie that's all right.
the director does care. They're making a new one actually right now
Yeah.
about the second game for the remake, and it's the same director for the one that you watched,
Yeah,
Christopher Gans.
I saw that he like I think he like petitioned Konami or he
Yeah,
really wanted to make this movie like really. And I
he's got
respect
it.
that.
He's got a passion for it, so I do. Yeah, he seems to appreciate it, and this time around, he's saying he's listening to the fans and he wants to make the movie like the game. He's not going to change things.
Well,
So
see,
he
that's
at
pretty
least
sweet.
listened to the feedback too, and he's like, okay, I hear you. I'll tell the story you want to hear
No
instead of
more
trying to change it.
no more weird traumatic backstory for the young girl.
Yeah,
She's too young for
and
that kind of anyway.
yeah.
That's it. That's Silent Hill. Wow, that. Hey everyone, it's Endcard Justin here again. Let me know down in the comments. Have you seen either of the Silent Hill movies or played any of the Silent Hill games? This movie was confusing and upsetting to me. But anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments down below. And if you want to see the full podcast that this video is from, you can click the video on the left. Or if you want to see a random video that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy, you can click the video on the right. Otherwise, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us a like if you could. Seriously, it helps us a ton. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good day, everybody.